viewers, I want to do this video to kind of do some more rules on what we should do to kind of have a better understanding of Bollinger Bands and Mad Hatter bot. So let's switch over and check it out. Alright, so this is the BCDE Mad Hatter settings. Now what I would do is to make sure that we start off with this. At least a zero point 0.1 increase for it to buy so that we see that it's uptrending before we buy. We'll calculate our percentage minimum price to sell the same way we do with our calculator. Kind of pick a frequently happening range, and we'll kind of put the percentage in. Stop loss is always 0 for now. It might hold the bag, but we want to check here to make sure that it doesn't hold the bag for more than a week. If it's less than 4 to 5 days, I think it's reasonable to hold. So we don't get emotional about it. Just let the bot do its thing. We just let it, work it. Okay. And then for the dev up and dev down for the Bollinger Bands, it usually starts at 2, which means like I'd say most of the time it will stay within those bands, but it's 2 deviation. If you lower this, it's more trigger happy on selling. If you increase this towards 3, it's less likely to buy. So it really has to be a volatile dip before it starts to begin to buy. Okay. Alright, so looking at this, and also require full candle closes unchecked. Allow milled sales is unchecked. Now I would split test between these two also. Actually, you might want to check all 3, but this is what I would start with now, and then you can check this back on and off, and this on and off to make sure um, you know increases the ROI on this. And then I'll double check again, make sure it's not holding bags for more than 7 days. So let's go over to full screen and kind of show you what I mean with those Bollinger Bands here. Alright, so see how this really dipped down? As soon as it dipped down enough, it'll buy it. Now if I actually increase this towards 3, it'll be very stingy, or not, yeah, very stingy on buying. So it has to really pierce it real hard before it actually picks anything up. So this is one event that happens there. And a lot of all this other stuff it's not going to buy at all, okay, unless it really dips down hard for it to buy, basically almost like crashing real sharply before it actually picks it up. If you put it to 3, which means it's very restrictive, which means 99.9% rarely happens, you'll see there's no buy signal. So it's very stingy and very reluctant to buy. And this might be a good setting on a bearish type of trend. Okay, so that way you see all these trends as it's trending down. If you don't want to buy that high as it's trending down, then yeah, what you want to do is you want to increase that to 2.5, and you'll see that the sell signals move further out, and you only buy unless you get past all this this downtrend here. Okay, but it's a balance, because if it does buy, there are some points where it does pop up, but then it's a little more of a risk to take. So we know we're already trigger happy on the selling, so as long as we're very reluctant on buying and we buy carefully, the idea is that we buy on opportune times where it's doing well. Okay, but then we're missing out on certain upswings here. So before we had 2.1, this is what we're getting, is 7.1%. So even though it's firing some buyer signals, but of course all 3 has to match in order for the buy signal to happen. Okay, but then we get to take advantage of these spots and sell at that point. Okay, so the thing is, like, we want to make it too restrictive, but as long as the back test is showing a high ROI, then it makes sense to engage in this. Okay, alright, so that has tested, and I think we did the best on this. This is the best one I've seen so far with this BCD one. We can open the analyzer here and actually see where it buys and sells. As long as it buys low, sells high, buys low, sell high, buy low, sell high, we are happy campers. Okay, so there's an opportunity here where so they get stuck a little bit here, but as long as it's not more than 7 days, uh, less than let's say 3 to 4 days is as long as I want to hold it. I don't want to use a stop loss to it, but we have to look at it through the number of trades through that. That's the best way, I think, to make sure that it doesn't hold it back for too long. So looking at the trades here, and I think you can view the trades up here. There you go. Scroll up. View the trades. Make sure that the dates are here. This is just 1 day, 7 to 1, about 4 days of holding, which is fine from buy to sell. And then we're gonna make sure the next buy is here. It still is 1 day later, 1 day later, or just a few hours later. And then waits for opportune time on February 3rd. Buy, sell, and this is fine. Yeah. If we see it as buying at this date and then 7 days later it sells, then they'll adjust the settings so that we make sure that we don't hold it for more than 4 days, 3 to 4 days. Okay, and that's pretty much it. So I think that's the adjustment we'll make to make sure that we are adjusting our bots right. Go ahead and use the settings that we have here if you like, and test it out, see what you think. And everything else is done the same way as far as making sure the RSI bands touch barely, as we initially set this up, and go from there. All right, guys, thank you. Yeah, have a good one.